Moving on, a couple of weeks ago we brought you the street view from the DNC, and although we weren't able to make it to the Green Party convention in Houston, we feel it's only fair to give you a quick rundown of what happened there, as well as a brief overview of the Green Party VP candidate. So, first of all, it's probably not surprising that Jill Stein won the Green Party nomination. If you watched our coverage of the DNC protests, you noticed that she was very active and very vocal, appealing to the Bernie or busters who refused to see Hillary as their bust option. And on that same note, Stein tipped the proverbial hat to Bernie Sanders again during her acceptance speech.
It is such an honor to be also running in alliance with the Bernie Sanders movement that I now get called as Burning Green. Burning Green, we are burning green together. We owe you such a debt of gratitude for lifting up this revolution that has been smoldering for decades. You broke through the media blackout, you lifted us up, and you refused to be shut down by the DNC.
She went on to talk a lot about the grave and serious issues facing both people and planet, from police brutality to rising sea levels. And she made a strong point of calling out all those who suggest that voting for the lesser evil will somehow save us from evil, focusing on the power of the people should we choose to use it.
We are the ones we've been waiting for when they tell us to, get out of the way because we're standing in the way of the lesser evil. The answer to that is that this politics of fear, which we've been told to bow down to, has only delivered everything we were afraid of. All those reasons. We were told to vote for the lesser evil because we didn't want the offshoring of our jobs, the meltdown of the climate, the massive bailouts for Wall Street, the expanding prison state, the attack on our civil liberties and on immigrant rights. All those things we didn't want is exactly what we got by allowing ourselves to be silenced and letting a lesser evil speak for us. When they try to tell you you are powerless, remember what Alice Walker says. The biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We have it. We are going to use it in this election. We are saying no to the lesser evil and yes to the greater good.
And finally, she called out the Democrats for being squarely part of the problem rather than a party for the people, and placed Trump in the larger lens of the sharp rise in right-wing extremism worldwide, and Hillary as a furtherance of dangerous ideas and actions rather than a mitigating solution.
We have a crisis in nuclear weapons, and again, thanks very much to the Democrats. Bill Clinton, who removed us from the anti-ballistic missile treaty framework for nuclear disarmament, and then Barack Obama, who created a $1 trillion budget for us to spend on a new generation of nuclear weapons and modes of delivery. So on the count of climate, on the count of nuclear weapons, and this insane nuclear arms race that we are once again headlong plunging into, and on account of these endless and expanding wars that are blowing back at us all around the world. We cannot afford to sit this one out. The lesser evil is a losing strategy because people stop coming out to vote for lesser evil politicians throwing them under the bus. So the Republicans will win anyhow. And to look at Donald Trump does not stand alone. Donald Trump is about the rise of right-wing extremism, not only in this country, but in Europe. And as Bernie Sanders himself so often said, the only solution to the likes of Donald Trump is a truly radical, progressive agenda that restores our needs and ends the economic misery that promotes the the kinds of demagogues we are seeing in Donald Trump. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Hillary Clinton is the problem. She is not the solution to Donald Trump. We are the solution. We are the ones we've been waiting for. This is our moment. Together we do have the power to create an America and a world that works for all of us. The power to create that world is not just in our hopes, it's not just in our dreams, right here and now, it's in our hands. We will make this happen together. We are unstoppable.
If you want to hear more from Jill Stein, she'll be appearing on CNN. I know, shocking. But one of the corporate shit stains on the name of journalism apparently cleaned up their act just enough to see the point in giving a platform to a presidential candidate. So, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on CNN, Jill Stein will appear in a town hall event. So be sure to tune into that if you want to get more of a scoop on her and her platform. As for other convention highlights, if you follow us on Facebook, you may have noticed our post on Julian Assange, who joined the convention via satellite and had this to say about the Democrat and Republican candidates. Quote, "You're asking me if I prefer cholera or gonorrhea." Well, that certainly is succinct. He also shared his thoughts on free speech, building movements, and the power of alternative media in the face of corporatized, propagandized media. Also in the program, Dr. Cornel West gave one hell of a fiery speech about truth, justice, integrity, and taking a fucking stand.
And at this particular historical moment, let us be not deceived. The American empire is in deep decay. Capitalist civilization is in deep decline. It needs radical, revolutionary democratizing from the bottom up. The indifference to evil is more evil than evil itself. Turning your back on folks suffering, turning your back on poor people, turning your back on working people, turning your back on folk in Central America and Honduras as if somehow that's just a side issue. Turning your back on the Israeli occupation just because AIPAC has so much money. We don't care about money. We want the truth. We want to keep track of the humanity of everybody, no matter who they are. No matter who they are. Oh, yes. And if there were a Palestinian occupation of our precious Jewish brothers and sisters, we would be just as morally outraged. We want to do something right and moral and just. That's why we are here. That's why we're going to make history. That this political extortion with this symbolic gun at your head, if you don't vote for one party as opposed to the other party, you're responsible for the catastrophe. We understand the difference between a neo-fascist catastrophe and a neoliberal disaster. We understand the difference, but we still decide to go with what the Green Party is putting forward. And for me, it's going to be Sister Jill and Brother Baraka.
Well, hot damn, that's inspiring. And by the by, the Baraka he's talking about is Ajamu Baraka, the VP Green Party candidate. Baraka is a world-renowned human rights activist, organizer, and geopolitical analyst. As Counterpunch reported, his activist track record includes being founding executive director of the U.S. Human Rights Network and coordinator of the U.S.-based Black Left Unity Network's Committee on International Affairs. Baraka has served on the boards of various national and international human rights organizations, including Amnesty International and the National Center for Human Rights Education. He has served on the boards of the Center for Constitutional Rights, Africa Action, Latin American Caribbean Community Center, Diaspora Afrique, and the Mississippi Workers Center for Human Rights. He is also a member of the Green Shadow Cabinet and an associate fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies in Washington, D.C. And now he can add vice presidential candidate to that track record. So for more on Jill's campaign, visit Jill2016.com, and that will do it for this week's Dose of Dissent.